Welcome to the Truth is Liberty podcast, bringing you news and information that lamestream media doesn't want you to hear. Check us out at truthisliberty.com. Welcome to a special edition of the Truth is Liberty podcast with Kevin Koerber from the On the Night Shift podcast. I am your host, Olis Mans. This is a joint venture podcast that can be heard on truthisliberty.com and on thenightshift.podomatic.com.
You want to start us out, Kevin, and say something, discuss something right off the top of your head, what you see the biggest issue we're facing right now?
Yes. How you doing, Olas?
Pretty good, Kevin. Glad to have you here with us. That we're getting together to do this, because we both we have strong feelings about this, I know, and we need to wake other people up to some of this stuff.
Yes, we've put our feet in either the deep pool or the deep sea. I don't know which is more appropriate.
Yeah, it's could just say it was the swamp, the deep end of the swamp. Well, today the U.S. has come out and basically expelled 35 diplomats from Russia, and they're still saying that they've hacked the election.
Inching us closer to World War III.
Yeah, another headline I've seen today is, this was actually from Zero Hedge. It was Russia warns of proportional response to Obama's paranoia. And Trump chimed in and responded to Obama's Russian sanctions and said basically, time to move on. But we still haven't seen any actual proof. I've not seen any actual proof. Have you?
I haven't either. Basically, what the Russians are doing right now is laughing in Obama's face at the lame duck president.
Yes. It's funny you would mention that because today's Drudge, on the home page, there's a picture of a little duck and the word lame right over it, and below it says Moscow mocks Obama. So once again, the poor hurt left just cannot understand why they lost the election and have to blame it on the Russians, is trying everything they can to stir the pot, so to speak.
Or as you have said, the Russians.
These the Russians, comrade. Yes, everything is the Russians.
Your papers don't appear to be in order.
Yeah, it's, I'm afraid we're headed in that direction, and that's one of the reasons why I'm committed to trying to wake people up.
Actually, it sounds like we're making fun of it, but this is very, very serious. It's been going on for years, and I think it's coming to a head. In my experiences of trying to wake up people, I've pointed to January 20th, 2017 as the next marker since we actually made it past the Electoral College. We're living in very dangerous times.
Yes, we are.
I saw a report earlier. I can't remember where it was from. You may have seen the same thing. All these leftist groups are now going to descend on Washington on Inauguration Day.
Yes, I just read an article today from iPatriot.com. Breaking news, liberal groups plan violent disruption for Inauguration Day.
Yeah, that's not good. That's just inviting total chaos, which is what they want.
Right. And the question is, are these liberal groups, are they paid groups being funded by the globalists such as George Soros and his organizations, criminal cabal?
I would say that's mostly where it's coming from. The key to all this is George Soros.
Yes, Georgie Boy likes to put his hands in every pie and cause total mayhem. wherever he can. We found out that earlier, or after the elections, that they were paying protesters in these cities that where civil disobedience was occurring. There was ads all over that proved this, and I think that they realized we were getting wise to them, and they shut it down. They quit advertising it as they did, and I'm sure they're still have their back channels that they're using to start all these strifes, but they seem to have calmed down a bit.
They're waiting for people to go back to sleep. Go back and watch your soap operas, watch your sports, go about your daily activities, and then bam. That's just my take on it.
So I also seen an article today that was again on Zero Hedge. Michael Moore urges civil disobedience at Trump's inauguration, warns it's going to be a lot worse. But I don't think what they realize is there's going to be many people from the right that are going to be there, and it could be a bloody event. Quite honestly, I don't want to see it, but I'm just afraid that that's where it's leading.
Well, it's not just people from the right. It's bikers. I mean, all kinds of groups. You're going to get them all together, and with that many people, you know, on differing sides, there's bound to be something happen. I'm like you. I don't want to see violence, but right now it appears to be that's where this thing is headed.
Exactly. And it seems that the left, they don't mind the violence. They're willing to start the violence and the destruction. And I just don't understand that mindset. We need to unite this country and not divide it more than it's been divided the past 8 years.
It's been divided for a long time, but it's really come to a head in these last 8 years of President Obama. Basically, the worst president our republic has ever had, and we've had quite a few bad ones, and I would put him definitely at the top.
I would agree with that. It's really too bad because when he took office in his first term, I really thought that he was going to do more for the people and to unite this country. But instead, it seems that he has done everything he could to divide the country. They have race-baited and stirred up so much anger among other countries and leaders of other countries that it's just, I know 90% of the other countries are probably sighing in relief now that it is close to the end of his term, and in fact Hillary Clinton did not get elected for what would have been called a third term for Obama.
Well, I think that is basically one of the reasons that the Russians are basically just laughing in his face. You know, you're not going to be there much longer. Maybe Donald Trump, or President Trump, as we'll soon be calling him, will be more calm and offer solutions to problems instead of this mess that we've had to deal with for 8 years.
Yes. And there's so much that people don't understand about this country, especially our educational institutions and how they've been infiltrated with communists.
It's terrible. They don't teach history. I mean, American history. I know American history. That makes me basically an enemy of the state, because I know this is not how our republic should be run.
Exactly. Well, funny you should mention U.S. history, because article recently here, and I've got a reference to it in the WashingtonTimes.com. The headline is GWU, or George Washington University no longer requires U.S. history course for history majors. And on top of that, the school recently hired former recruiter for Al-Qaeda as Homeland Security expert. Let me just read a couple little sentences here from this. GWU's decision is a second to raise eyebrows in recent months. The school, located in the heart of the nation's capital, made national headlines in August when it hired Jesse Morton, a former recruiter for Al-Qaeda, as a Homeland Security expert. Seamus Hughes, deputy director of the program on extremism at George Washington University's Center for Cyber and Homeland Security, defended the hire August 30th on CNN, saying, "I trust him. We did our due diligence." Now, really, Kevin, did they do their due diligence?
They think so. I mean, it's insane. I saw that same article, and I couldn't believe what I was reading. There's no other word to explain it. The left will not give up. Through the first part of the Trump presidency, at least, we're going to have to remain vigilant to this threat, because that is what it is. It's a threat.
I agree. And you can expect the unexpected between now and that time period.
Always expect the unexpected out of the left.
Yes. I go back to the election and before the election, when WikiLeaks started releasing everything, and Podesta emails came out, and Project Veritas did their reporting. And even at that point, it was on the left, the Democrats were saying, what? It's the Russians. The Russians are interfering with our election.
I'm like you. I want to see the proof. And to this date, where is the proof?
It just makes me puzzled to wonder how they kept pushing the narrative, it's the Russians, everything is the Russians, yet they wouldn't answer to any of the charges or the allegations, the emails that were obvious from their accounts, and the content of those emails.
As long as they can say it's the Russians and keep pounding that into everybody's psyche, they think it'll stick. You know, it's time to move on. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about which celebrity died today.
Yeah, they've done a very good job brainwashing their followers on the left. That's for sure. Some other articles of interest I've seen today is from globalresearch.ca. The headline is, "Who is supporting ISIS, Daesh in Syria? Erdogan or Obama? ? Cross-cutting coalitions, NATO military alliance in crisis." And the U.S. has responded, well, kind of responded to Erdogan in Turkey and what he said about the U.S. is supporting ISIS. And the U.S. is, from an article on Zero Hedge, title of this article is, "U.S. denies it created ISIS, accuses Turkey of spreading fake news."
Well, you must remember, ISIS is USIS.
That is true, but so many do not understand that, Kevin. ISIS is a spinoff of Al-Qaeda and other terrorist organizations, and if you go back years ago to Afghanistan when Al-Qaeda came into existence, who was it, Kevin, that supplied them and funded them and helped to create ISIS, or, excuse me, Al-Qaeda, the predecessor to ISIS?
The CIA.
Do you recall? Yeah, that's right, CIA. That's interesting, isn't it? Many people don't know that.
The CIA and their golden boy, Osama bin Laden.
Yes. Who had spent time in the U.S. and even had family members still in the U.S. When the events of 9/11 happened. in 2001. And what happened to those family members? They were quickly whisked out of the country by the Bush criminal cabal.
If I remember, that was the only plane that was actually in the air at the time. Everything else was grounded.
Exactly. Yes. The skies were empty.
The skies were empty except for this flight out of the country.
Yeah. How convenient. And it continues to this day. The lies and deceit that we've been told, that we've been fed for years and years. And it goes back way beyond even 9/11. That's why I think you and I are both here, and we're trying to inform others that what you see is not always what it is, what it really is. There is a man behind the curtain. There is a puppet master, and the globalists, I think you can agree, are a big part of the puppet show.
The thing about it, the mainstream media, mostly televised media, I mean, radio is a part of it, newspapers, but especially the televised media. You have the person, male or female, sitting there in the comfort of your living room or your dining room or wherever you watch the evening news or, the 24-hour news services, and they read a script, and you can almost switch between each of the services, and it all sounds the same.
Mm-hmm.
In order to really believe what Olas and I are talking about, you have to do your own research. Don't take our word for it. Look it up.
Oh, yes. There's more information out there than you or I have even found, I'm sure. There's always a deeper rabbit hole, and there's always more and more information. Right now, I fear that they're going to try to shut down a lot of that information and keep it from being out there in the open on YouTube and other sites, websites and blog sites. Because I don't know if anyone has been aware of this, but the president, Friday evening before Christmas Eve, he signed the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act, for 2017, and within those documents, there's a lot about the U.S. basically. Well, Kevin, how would you say it? Would you say we're creating our own disinformation apparatus within the government?
State-sponsored disinformation.
Yeah. Big Brother, 1984. Yeah, that's one thing. If you haven't read a copy of George Orwell's 1984, you owe it to yourself to read that. Yes. And actually, I think we're going to be adding a link to an audio version on Truth is Liberty. We did find one for that, and I believe we also have one for Animal Farm, which is another interesting book from Orwell.
Mm-hmm.
Brave New World, I believe, and a few others. And that's why we started TruthIsLiberty.com, to try to expose and not so much to expose as to inform those out there that are not aware of all of these things that have been going on behind their backs for so many years.
Well, it's basically got to the point that it's just right out in your face now. They don't even try to hide this. It's like, here it is, and what are you going to do about it?
Well, they know that the large majority of the population is so dumbed down, and they're so hypnotized with all the media, their Hollywood movies, their television programs, their sporting events, as you said, and they just don't take time to really grasp everything that's in the world of politics and governmental news and world news, for that matter, as well. I mean, there's there's been countless reporters out there that have interviewed the younger generations, mainly the college-age kids or the millennials, and they've asked them all kinds of questions, just simple history questions, and they couldn't answer them. Some couldn't even tell you who the current vice president was. So they've been dumbed down. They've been indoctrinated in the universities and the K through 12 schools. And if we don't stop this tide and turn this ship around and get these kids back on the right track and get them to understand that what they've been told is not the truth, then we're going to lose this country.
I agree. Right now, the ship is definitely off course. We're headed for the sandbar, reef, what have you. And it's serious, folks. It's real serious. None of us at the basic level want to live in a country where everything that we do is being watched by someone. Do you? I don't. But that's where this is headed right now. From a lame duck president, a guy who should be in the twilight of his presidency and just sit behind the desk and wait it out. Sit through the gala of the inauguration, get on the helicopter with your family, and leave. That's the way it's always been, until now. How very curious is that?
Yeah, it's interesting you said until now, because in case you don't know, the current president has opted to stay in Washington. He's not going to be leaving. He's going to stay within Washington, D.C. area, and who knows what he's going to try to stir up for the new administration that's coming in January. I got a feeling that he may be staying to try to bring his party, the Democratic Party, together more. But I think there's a lot more underlying factors, things that he's involved in that he wants to try to push agendas.
If you remember after the election, I said we won a battle, but the war rages on.
That it does, yes.
And you can't turn your backs on these people. They're coming at you, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Full throttle.
Oh, yes, and they will use anything they can. Blackmail, murder, suicide.
Arkansas.
There you go. Do yourself a favor if you want to learn more about the Clinton crime cabal. Just check out some of the videos that are on YouTube, if they're still there, if YouTube and their parent company, Google, hasn't started to remove them. Yeah. There's also, I do have a link on, if it's still current, on truthisliberty.com to Clinton Cash, which is a very interesting documentary. Delves into the Clintons quite deeply, and their whole crew. There's also the Mina Connection, is another great documentary resource that you can find. Last time I checked before the election, it was still on YouTube, because I know I sure shoved it down Mark Zuckerberg's throat on Facebook many times. So I'm really surprised I still have a Facebook account, to be quite honest. But there's also Kevin and I and Laurel Hendricks. I want to thank Kevin and Laurel for all their help. We put together a glossary, sort of a study guide, if you want to call it that, of many terms, many prominent names, things that you really need to further investigate. It's a good starting point to doing your own research, wouldn't you say, Kevin?
Yes, actually, I was very impressed when I first saw it. Very well done.
It's I can't recall the page count now, but it's in the 70 or 80 page range, and it's all PDF, and there are links to where the information was found. In most cases, Wikipedia is a good resource, but it can be edited, and it can be edited very quickly, and people need to be aware of that. Another thing I think people need to understand and know out there is that Snopes.com is not the end-all, do-all for, oh, well, if it's on Snopes, it's got to be.
It's got to be true.
It's got to be true. It's not fake news. There's so many sites out there that were fake news, and actually myself and another one of our cohorts, we kind of call ourselves the CTM Warriors, and I think some of you will understand where we're coming from with that phrase. And a shout out to John B. That's all I have to say, I think. But we uncovered one that about I believe it was an FBI agent that was supposedly suicide, murder, and fire in their home. And it was coming from a news source that was calling themselves the Denver Guardian. And we did some research, and the news story, how funny it was the news story was from the Denver Guardian, yet the incident was supposed to have happened in the Maryland, Virginia area. And so we started digging into all of the news media sources, television, radio, print media, online print media, in that area of D.C., the surrounding D.C. area of Maryland and Virginia, and we could find no one that had reported on that event. And we took it one step further. Another thing, when you see a website and they have their email addresses, whatever their name is, at gmail.com or at yahoo.com, you really can't trust the credibility of that website. And taking one step further, they put an address on that website. And when you search Google Maps and you do a street view, the location where that Denver Guardian, this high news source, is supposed to be located is just a mere empty parking lot, nothing there, no building, nothing. So you have to do your research, and that's what we're trying to.
That sounds like a very bad X-Files episode.
Yeah, it could have been taken from that, and that's another thing. You see that in Hollywood and in film and television programs. You see so many things that are so similar to things that are occurring today.
Actually, a lot of that, if you look closely to credits in films and TV series, especially drama series, sci-fi, you'll see consultants, usually from FBI, CIA, the military. So it's not all fake. But some of the stuff that is actually in there is true, to a certain point.
Well, that can also be said for the mainstream media, or as we like to call them, the lamestream media.
Exactly.
It has come out that organizations such as the CIA are feeding those news sources, and they're directing the narrative on those news sources and their online reporting, their broadcast reporting, their print reporting. I don't know if many people realize it, but the founder of Amazon.com, Jeff Bezos, he owns the Washington Post. And there's been articles here recently, it's come out that he has a huge contract with the CIA to house, I would say, just documentation, I would assume, an online storage type. If you've got a huge contract with the CIA and it's your newspaper, and you're the largest online retailer and storage facilitator, what's to say that some of those CIA officials aren't leading the direction of where your news stories are going and what's actually being told and what's not being told, what is being suppressed.
Of course. Just do the research and try as much as possible to get many different sources for the same piece of news.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons our first podcast on truthisliberty.com kind of delved into some issues of censorship and where I felt that we're going, and especially now with these new additions to the NDAA for 2017. I actually did a little investigating and led back to some former Obama cabinet members who were running a corporation, who owns a corporation, I should say, that does almost 2 million website hosts throughout the world. And I fear that websites and other media outlets that are not conforming to what the standard issue government thinks speak is truth speak, or whatever you want to call it, is saying is going to get shut down. I just fear that we're in for a big fight on censorship, freedom of the speech, and freedom of the press.
Actually, it would be something very simple to shut it down. A state of national emergency, for one. And people are still, underestimating the current president. Of course, he's a lame duck, but he is still the president. He has all the perks of being president of the United States, and he's already shown that he is not above doing things by executive order. Most people don't know this. In your cell phones, you can get things like Amber Alerts for, missing, not just children, just, missing people. But you can also get texts from the President of the United States, which cannot be shut off. That's my biggest fear between now and the 20th of January, is a false flag event here. And I'm not going to say homeland. I don't like that term.
No, that's too Nazi for me.
Yeah, it sounds too much like the fatherland, the motherland. Yeah. I never did like that when it came out during the Bush administration. We got a homeland security.
Yes.
What's this really mean? It sounded like Nazi Germany to me.
It sounds similar to the Nazi Germany or the Stasi, secret police. Again, George Orwell, Big Brother is watching you. And if you don't understand what a false flag is, then take a look. Go download a copy or just review it online of the glossary we put together there, because that term is in there, and many, many more. I guess 90% of the battle is to learn the terminology and understand when you do find reliable alternative news sources and understand what they're saying, what they're speaking about.
Yeah, at least become familiar a little bit with the terms, and you can look it up, and that's what that word means.
Yes. Yes, there's so many. Just go take a look at Project Mockingbird and do a search on that. See what you'll find. They could be quite interested in that. You were speaking of the cell phones, and I really think I was reading an article here from shtfplan.com, and I won't spell out what it means, and I think everyone could probably figure that out. But it says RF jammed / grid down, prepare for electronic interference as cyber world war dawns. And I truly fear that we are about to undergo a large cyber war. There was back a few months ago, there was a major attack on the East Coast servers of a corporation that does a lot of routing traffic on the internet. And they also handle a lot of the smart home services and smart appliance services. And that's how they used those devices to infiltrate and overtake and bring down the network. And there was a lot of corporations that were affected, as well as individuals. And that could happen again. It could happen at any time.
Yes, it can. It all depends on how far the globalists want to take this. We scored a touchdown. It's their turn now. What are they going to come back with? That is the big question mark.
I'm sure we're going to see more and more cyber attacks and hacking attempts and the like. The U.S. government even said that they would retaliate against Russia for what they felt Russia's hacking and interference with the elections at a later time and date, and it would probably go unnoticed by most of the citizens. It'd be all in the shadows and in the dark. Just there was an article today in the Washington Times that it was about the Drudge Report, Matt Drudge, and the title of the article is Matt Drudge suggests U.S. government cyber attack on Drudge Report website. DDoS attack comes same day Obama announced countermeasures against Russia for hacking of Democrats. So if you can bring down Drudge, I'm sure he's got some pretty heavy servers. I don't know where his servers are located, but I think if your servers are offshore and are being rerouted to several different locations, you would be better off than if you have U.S.-based hosting servers for anything at this point.
Most definitely.
And since the U.S. gave up the ICANN and control of the Internet domains, that's now a worldwide entity group running that. So who's to say that there won't be some influence from other nations in that could bring down important websites and are trying to tell people the truth. I just got through listening to a video from Joseph P. Farrell from GizaDeathStar.com, and he had some very interesting information in the video. It is available on YouTube, and it's about a little over 30 minutes in length. And basically, the description on the video states, over during the run-up to the Christmas holiday, which that's not quite the way I would have worded that, there were very strange, seemingly unrelated stories which broke, and some have only been updated just today. Joseph reviews the death of the NATO Auditor General, the assassination of Andrei Karlov, the Russian ambassador to Turkey, and the crash of the Russian military aircraft in Sochi. And Kevin, I want to throw something out there to you. The Russian ambassador that was assassinated in Turkey, I don't know if you've seen the video of the actual assassination, but what is that? What came to your mind when you saw that?
Initially, a false flag.
Yeah. I myself said the well-dressed gentleman, who it turns out was a 22-year-old Turkish police officer who, in fact, assassinated the ambassador. I said, well, he was well-dressed. He sure looked like he could even be a member of the CIA or another secret service or elite.
Sort of like the hobos in Dallas.
Yeah, the hobos. The well-dressed hobos?
Yes.
Yeah. That's another thing that a lot of people do not understand, and they listen to what the government's telling them about is the Kennedy assassination in 1963 in Dallas, Texas. There's much more to that story than we can go into here. There are so many great people out there that have done research on the assassination of Kennedy, and if you look at the history of this country, that was a big turning point in what has happened since. And you really need to do, again, like Kevin's and I've both been saying you need to do your research. You need to find as much information you can about a particular subject, and don't rely on just your mainstream or government sources for that information.
Another good one, I don't know if we've touched on this much, there's a bunch of people in it. Dick Cheney, their mantra was, what we need is a Pearl Harbor type event. They got that on September 11th, 2001, to usher in this total takeover of your life. And we as citizens of this great republic stood by and let these people do this to us. That was a sad day. Still a sad day, and a sad day in my memory, personal memory.
Yes, I believe the initials for that organization, what is it they are, Kevin? Is it PNOC, I believe? And if I recall, Vice President Cheney just had spoke, was it just the day before or a few days before 9/11?
Mm-hmm.
And stated that. Another thing that many do not understand is there was a big controversy at the Pentagon just the day before the events of 9/11.
Yeah, they were actually running some kind of a drill of a projectile or a missile or something crashing into the Pentagon, and then it happens.
Yeah, there was also a big issue the day before, a few days before, that there was a lot of money that was unaccounted for from the Pentagon budget.
Yes.
And that kind of got swept under the rug. And one thing we need to touch on here is when we talk about a training exercise or a planned event, emergency preparedness, many times these events will occur simultaneously when an actual event happens or shortly thereafter. And in the same areas, you can research this, and you can find these coincidences happening everywhere, from San Bernardino to the events of 9/11, the Boston Marathon, and there's even I believe there was an event before the tragedy at Sandy Hook. And so that's something that you need to, when you see something like that or hear about something, it should make a little bell go off in your head.
Well, one of the strange things that I personally saw myself when I was in Texas was the merging of the police and military. Right alongside the highway, they weren't really doing anything. They were standing by their respective vehicles, looking at the traffic going by. I thought that was very odd.
Well, I know in many areas, including my area, I call it the police state now, because many people probably don't even think about it, but county I happen to live in, our sheriff's deputies used to have brown uniforms, beige pants with a dark brown stripe, and a dark brown shirt. And that police force, along with so many more throughout this country, have gone to black, all black. And you see more and more of the armored equipment rolling on the streets of the cities of America, which I personally just call that the arrival of the police state. And
actually, when it's going to really look bad is where they cover their faces and you won't see a badge. Then you know the proverbial, what is about to hit the fan.
Yes, and that could be coming soon to a town near you. Any little event could set it off. And on the other hand, there's there are a lot of good police officers out there, and I have respect for all. And yes, there is some bad elements within police forces, and I personally think that some of these events where there's been officer-involved shootings or beatings, I think there's some of our vets that have returned from some of these unjust wars that are just not mentally stable enough to be carrying a gun and a badge on the soil of this nation, and yet they are. And that's kind of scary too. But we have a headline here from WashingtonTimes.com: Blue lives under fire, deadly ambushes of police officers at 2-decade high. Now, why is it that this is happening? And why is it that the current administration has not done more to stop this, to try to come up with some solutions as to why this is happening, and to do more investigating? Maybe we need to do more background checks on police officers. But when they're out there doing their job and people are ambushing them for no reason, what's going on? And why was it so many times, time after time? Look at the officers that lost their lives this year. And it's been underreported or not reported hardly at all in mainstream media. Why is that?
I think it's basically a question of life itself has been so devalued. And that, again, is tied into the globalists. They value life very little. I mean, their plans basically is to exterminate huge numbers of people. They can't control us all. They can control maybe a few million, and the rest of them is their slaves. That's their plan, folks. Don't take my word for it. Look it up.
Yeah. Yes, and basically everyone is a slave now. A slave to debt is continuing to rise, wages or not. And I see the globalists, the elite, call them the New World Order. What they want is they want a one-world government, and they want a one-world currency. And they would like nothing more for that currency to be a digital currency or a non-physical currency, so that they can track your every move, your every purchase.
Don't forget the one world religion.
Yes.
Which has nothing to do with Muhammad, God, or any other religion that we currently have. It's not one that I want to be any part of.
I totally agree with you there. This nation was founded on the principles of God, a godly nation, and it seems that the war on Christianity has continued to increase year upon year. And I don't know when it's going to change, if it's ever going to change. But it's just there's too many variables and too many things that are not right, that are being done with the government's control.
Yeah, and it's not just the United States government, it's governments of every country on earth to, at a basic level, turn their populations into mindless slaves. That is not what being human is about.
No, it is not. What does the term life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness really mean then, if you're just a slave to the system and you have no rights and you can't speak up?
Well, it's like the Pledge of Allegiance when you get to the part, "and to the republic for which it stands, A lot of people don't know what the republic is. Look that up. This is not a democracy.
So many feel that it is a democracy. This nation was founded as a republic. And along the lines, a lot of things have been clouded, and including the biggest thing of all is their constitutional rights, which continue to be erased and trampled on. If we don't change things and we don't turn things around, we don't educate everyone and get people to understand this, I really don't know where we'll be in 10 years, 20 years in this nation. Maybe even less than that. I think that the globalists are running now. They're scared. They're trying to do anything they can to keep their control over everything that they've wanted to put in place for so long.
Right now, I'll go back to the analogy. I'm sure I've told you about it before. The globalists are like cockroaches now. We've come into the room, turned the light on, they're scrambling for the nearest hole in the wall.
Yes, they're scrambling right now, and they're scrambling more and more every day, and that's why we are seeing so much pushback against this president-elect, and that's why they've tried so hard to say that it was a rigged election and blame the Russians, because they know they're losing a huge amount of control and power, and it's disrupting their plans of where they want to take this nation, which they want to destroy this nation, and we have to stop it.
Well, the analogy is you destroy the United States of America, you have your new world order. We're the only thing that stands in its way.
Yes, that's true. Very true.
Europe has basically succumbed to Muslim control. Eventually, Sharia law will sweep all over Europe.
Yeah. And do some research into Sharia law, and it's not what you think it is. It's not a good system. So this has kind of been just an informal chat session, I guess you'd say, with Kevin and I, but there's a lot of things that we feel are very important and people understand and they're aware of. And that's one of the reasons we're doing what we do, to try to spread the word, wake up the masses, and get them to understand that it's not all reality TV shows and Hollywood blockbuster films and the big sports events.
At the basic level, it's your life, and you should be able to live your life, within reason, obeying the laws of the land, but you should be left alone. That's what being free really means.
Yes, and it's not only your life, it's future generations, your children, your grandchildren. If we don't stop this and set this nation back on the right course, what is there going to be for your children, your grandchildren?
Nothing.
No, that there's going to be nothing for them. So we hope that you've enjoyed our little chat and that maybe we've gave you some good points of reference to continue your own research.
Yes, because this is not a conspiracy theory anymore. This is reality, people.
Yes, and I've said recently that I feel that the term conspiracy theory, which you can research that, it was a term coined by a government agency, and I feel that conspiracy theory is now what's leading to the fake news and the whole narrative there, and I think it's going to lead to more censorship and more taking of our rights if we don't stop it. And it's not just one party or the other. I know we've referred to the left or the liberals, the Democrats, but there's many on the right side of the aisle, Republicans that are rhinos, which is simply a term for Republican in name only. And they have many of the same agendas that those on the left have. And
actually, there's a lot of talk about the progressives on the left. They're actually progressives on the right, too.
Yes, they're on both sides. And just do a little research and check out how many senators and congressmen that go to Washington and they're broke. They're not wealthy individuals when they go into service for their country. But take a look at how many of them are millionaires and multimillionaires once they exit those positions.
The one thing that just popped up to me right now was when I saw President Bush.
George H.W. Bush, George Sr.?
Yes, George Sr. and William Jefferson Clinton both did their commercial on the hurricane that devastated, Haiti?
Yes, yeah.
And the very imagery of that, I just looked and I didn't laugh, but I cringed. Because these two people, folks, are in business together.
Yes.
Do the research.
Mm-hmm.
Bush, Clinton, cabal.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was, trying to refer to earlier about there are progressives on the left and the right. There are good people and bad people on the left and right.
Yes, the Bush family and the Clinton family, for many years they tried to make it appear that they were mortal enemies, but in fact they've been pals and buddies for a very long time, and many things that they have involvement in that both of them have benefited from monetarily for far too many years. Well, I hope we've impacted some people out there today, Kevin, and they'll do some research and discover some of these things that we've spoken about. And I invite everybody to continue to seek out knowledge and be sure to check out everything there is on both of our websites and our podcasts, truthisliberty.com, myself, and be sure and check out the On the Night Shift podcast for Kevin, and that's as onthenightshift.podomatic.com. It's onthenightshift.podomatic.com. Be sure to stay tuned in the future and see what else we have to say.
Yeah, on the podcast thing, you can actually get the podcast on your Android device or iPhone, too.
There you go, folks. Carry it around in your pocket. Listen to it at your convenience. Plug it in the car. It's good information. You're not going to get it from your mainstream media. It's controlled by your government. So take our advice and explore. Do your own investigation. Well, Kevin, thanks for joining me and doing this, getting together with me. I've been wanting to do this with you for a long time, and I hope we can get to do this more often.
Yeah, we should definitely do another.
For sure. All right, until next time, everyone, take care and do your research and investigation and see what you come up with. We'd like to hear from you.
Check out the information, and hopefully we're going to be entering not only a new president, but a new era. And 2016 has been a brutal, brutal year on so many levels. I want to wish everybody out there the non-politically correct Happy New Year.
And myself as well. Happy New Year, and let's hope that 2017 is a much brighter year than 2016. All right. Have a good day.
Have a good day.